Hello everyone and welcome to day 11 of the Men's Mental Health Awareness Month with Rapid Mental Healing for Veterans, RMHFV, focused on the silence men keep, and the life-saving impact of breaking it.
Okay, let's get stuck in. Welcome everyone to the deep dive. We're here to unpack the stack of sources you shared, all the articles, notes, the research, and really pull out the key insights. Today we're tackling something really important, often kind of kept in the shadows: men's mental health.
Yeah, it's a big one. And the material we're looking at today gets right into the silence surrounding it, the cost of that silence, but also, crucially, the impact of breaking it.
Right, and there's a particular focus here on those who've served in the military, which adds another layer.
Definitely.
So our mission, really, for this deep dive is to explore that quiet battle so many men face. Try and understand why silence often seems like the only option, and maybe uncover the power, the courage in actually speaking up.
And there's real tension there, isn't there? The sources highlight how society often links things like stoicism, never showing weakness, to being strong, but those very things can become huge barriers to getting help. Barriers to, well, survival, frankly.
That's a powerful way to put it. And the source material itself, it doesn't hold back. It calls silence, not strength, but an unseen enemy.
Or like armor that actually becomes a cage. That phrasing really stuck with me.
Yeah, me too. And it backs this up with some pretty stark numbers, this sort of silent war.
It does. It mentions that nationally, men make up almost 80% of all suicides.
80%, that's...
Yeah.
Just pause on that for a second. It means men are dying by suicide nearly 4 times more often than women.
It's a staggering statistic. Really should make us all stop and think.
Absolutely. And as you mentioned, the material stresses this gets even worse for veterans.
Yeah, their suicide rate is over 1.5 times higher than for non-veteran adults. The source frames it so powerfully,
Yeah.
They fight for freedom overseas, then come home.
And face this internal battle, often completely alone, isolated.
Exactly. And the way this pain manifests, it's often not what we might picture as, say, sadness.
Right. The source talks about this quiet, gnawing struggle. And it shows up in ways society maybe finds more acceptable, or just doesn't recognize as pain.
Precisely. Like depression might look like anger, irritability, or just pulling away completely.
Or anxiety hiding behind working constantly or having a really short fuse.
Yeah, or grief just buried deep down under that tough exterior. Trauma, too, from combat, maybe childhood, just life locked away. And this is critical. Suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
Often felt as too shameful to even admit to yourself, let alone anyone else.
So it's real pain, deep pain, but wearing a disguise.
Mm-hmm.
Which leads to the big question, doesn't it? With this scale, this hidden struggle, why the silence? Why is that the default for so many men? What do the sources say?
Well, it points to stuff that's often, as the article puts it, drilled into them from boyhood.
Okay.
This idea that asking for help, that's weakness. There's a real fear of being judged.
Like people will look down on you or just won't get it.
Exactly. And a huge one is not wanting to be a burden on their family, feeling like they have to be the strong one, always.
Right. Carry it all themselves.
And that really isolating thought, nobody could possibly understand my pain. It's a heavy mix of expectations and fears.
It really is. And this is where the source material takes a really important turn, I think.
Yeah.
It just directly confronts that idea of silence as strength. It says, flat out, breaking the silence. That's not weakness.
It calls it the ultimate act of courage.
Yes. And the first, most critical step toward healing, toward staying alive. That's a direct quote, and it's powerful.
It really is. And what's fascinating is how it describes what actually happens when a man finds that courage, decides to speak up. It's not just talking for the sake of it. It's framed as this huge shift, like opening a pressure valve.
Yeah, you can almost feel that sense of release just reading it.
Absolutely. The relief described is just profound. And the outcomes listed, they're not small things. It's realizing I'm not alone in this, that feeling of being truly heard, maybe for the very first time.
Finding that flicker of hope when everything felt completely hopeless.
And finding actual support, finding solutions, connecting with others. The source calls it finding a brotherhood. That's a strong word.
It is. And it also mentions something else interesting, that the man who speaks up becomes a kind of quiet role model.
How so?
Just by doing it, he sort of gives permission to other men who might be struggling silently too, shows them it's okay.
That makes sense. It ripples outwards.
Yeah. And the source is clear. This shift, this speaking up, it doesn't just change lives, it saves them.
It calls it the start of a quiet revolution, one conversation at a time.
But okay, revolutions don't just happen. Breaking that silence, it often needs the right kind of support, the right environment, right?
Absolutely. You need spaces where men feel safe enough to actually lower that guard. The material really digs into the importance of creating these environments.
What kind of approaches does it highlight?
Well, one key thing is confidential, judgment-free places to share. Like group settings, it mentions reboot recovery trauma classes, as an example. Places where men can share their own truth, but also listen deeply to others who've been through similar stuff. That shared experience builds trust.
Creates that no man left behind feeling it talks about.
Exactly. Makes it feel safe. Another approach is more one-on-one guidance. Mental health coaching is mentioned. This is helpful for guys who maybe struggle even to put words to what they're feeling.
So the coach is like a guide,
Yeah.
an ally.
Yeah, helping them name the enemy, as the source puts it, bringing clarity, making the struggle feel a bit huge and undefined.
That makes sense. Clarity is powerful.
And then there's just the fundamental power of connection, fighting that isolation we talked about, building resilience through real relationships in a supportive community. It mentions a brotherhood that listens.
Reinforcing that idea, no man heals alone. It's about being a brother, not just a case file.
Precisely. And finally, it does touch on addressing spiritual wounds too. Offering support that helps men maybe reframe their pain, see it not just as failure, but maybe even a path towards purpose.
Using faith, perhaps, as an anchor.
If that resonates, yes. As an anchor, a reminder they're part of something bigger than just their struggle.
Okay, so bringing this right back to you, listening now, if you're carrying a heavy burden, maybe recognizing some of this in yourself, the message from these sources feels incredibly direct, urgent even. It says, be brave for one more fight. Say something.
It's a powerful call to action. But then the question is, say something to who?
Right, and the source gives options: a friend you trust, a brother, maybe a coach like we mentioned, or a chaplain, or reaching out to one of the organizations specifically set up to help. The point is, find someone. Don't carry it alone.
Mm-hmm. And the message isn't just for those struggling directly, is it?
No, absolutely not. If you know a man who seems to have gone quiet, withdrawn, the message is just as strong. Don't let the silence win.
So what can people do, practically?
The source suggests reaching out, asking how they're really doing, and maybe asking again later, gently.
Sometimes just being there, sitting with someone, even if they don't talk much.
Yeah.
That presence matters.
Yeah. Listening without judging, being patient.
And the source really emphasizes this. Your willingness to simply be there can be the one open door that keeps someone from walking out for good.
That's sobering, but also hopeful. That simple presence can be life-saving.
It really can.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, the main takeaway seems pretty clear. This silence that many men carry, it's dangerous. We see it in the stats.
Yeah, heartbreakingly so. But speaking up, asking for help that's not weakness, it's profound courage.
It's the door to healing. It saves lives.
Yeah.
And connection, whether it's friends, family, or specific communities, is just vital in that fight.
Absolutely vital.
Now, the source material mentioned that its next step was exploring the vital role of faith in healing, how spiritual roots can be an anchor. So maybe a final thought for you to consider reflecting on our conversation today. What are the anchors?
Good question.
Whether it's faith for some, or maybe that strong community, or just one person who won't give up, what are those anchors that can ground someone when they're navigating really rough emotional waters?
Yeah. What helps them find their way back to solid ground? Something definitely worth thinking about.
Thank you for joining us today for Day 11. Have a great day and see you tomorrow for Day 12. Like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you.